Welcome to Side Alpha Leadership, a podcast where leaders can share their experiences and discuss what leadership means to them. I'm your host, David Polikoff. Hello and welcome to this month's episode of Side Alpha Leadership. I'm your host, David Polikoff. It is March, so the first 2 months of 2022, I took a little bit of a vacation. For those of you that listened to December show where I did a recap, I had retired from the fire department in Montgomery County after 34 years. And I enjoyed approximately 6 days of retirement, and then I got hired in Frederick County, Maryland, and where I currently work for Frederick County Fire and Rescue Service. So a whole 6 days of retirement. But I'm back on track now, and we're going to get back to having shows every month. So this show is going to be pretty cool. It's a different, out-of-the-box person that I'm going to be interviewing. It's actually a longtime friend of mine. Most of you that know me very well know that I was in a band back in my early 20s. The band was called Down and Dirty, and there's a whole bunch of stories that go with that. But without me rambling on like I always do in the very beginning, I want to introduce a very good friend of mine, the guitar player from Down and Dirty, Kemo, whose real name is Kevin, but he goes by Kemo. So Kemo, welcome to Side Alpha Leadership.
Hey, Dave. Well, thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
So in the last, let's say, 30 years, what have you been up to?
Oh, my God. You know, I have, in 30 years, I've probably reinvented myself 30 different times. I swear to God. Right now, I'm doing a high voltage electrical maintenance. I took an office job because I turned 50 this year, and I can't see anything that's 3 feet in front of my face. Before that, I was a journeyman electrician in construction. God, I've done everything. I've gone into comedy. Before that, I was a musician for, God, almost 30 years. I'm a dad of 3. One of my kids is in the Coast Guard. The other one is graduating from high school, and the other one is going to go to Disney this year for the first time. She's 7. Done everything twice, counting being married. I'm on my second marriage, which is interesting. God, before that, I was in a band called Down and Dirty with this guy named Stacy Days. Stacy Days is David Polikoff's stage name. So that's how I met Dave.
It's hilarious because people still call me that at work, and here we are, 30 years later, and people think that it embarrasses me, but I kind of laugh. I was like, guys, you don't understand. That was probably the best 3 years, and I think that's about how long we were together, like 3 years of my life.
It was a badge of when people try to make fun of me, and it's like a badge of courage,
It is.
They're like, what? I'll be fixing my hair, and they'll be like, "What? You need some Aquanet?" I'll be like, "Why? You got some?"
And that's what I used to say. I said, "It's funny you say that because Aquanet was the only flammable hairspray that was on the market that we put to good use long before the tragedy that happened in the Station nightclub. I mean, some of the things we were doing, I look back and but being a firefighter, we were always super safe. I think we had like 2 man dudes on the stage with fire extinguishers ready to go.
We did. It was cool. When we would go to the clubs and do pyro, it would be like, it's okay because Dave is a firefighter. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, it's okay. Oh, we know what we're doing, right? Because he's a firefighter, not just a bunch of crazy 20-year-olds who were, and you didn't care. You're just like, light it up. Let's go. Come on. This is,
and early 20-year-olds at that. But God, right. I remember, like I said, I tell people, I said, those days, I am not embarrassed to talk about it. I still got the pictures on Facebook. I still got pictures on my iPhone, but of us in the band. And I'm telling you, like you said, it's a badge of courage. I mean, it takes a lot for 4 guys to, come together, three friends and 1 stranger, and we'll get to that in a minute, and get together and we practice. I'd say we practiced for about 8 or 9 months in your basement, And
Yeah, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It was
yep,
a routine.
it
We
was,
just what we
and
did.
thanks to your dad, God rest his soul, and your mom, Mama Hightaffer, and just let us loose in the house, and just do our thing, and so supportive. It was amazing how supportive your parents were. But that was like the second home,
Right.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we were there, and we never were alone when we practiced. You would think that four guys that want to really hone their skills, we had so many people coming down in the basement, and it always end up in a little party or something like that. But we would practice, and it was, coming together, and not having the egos that, as a new guy in the band, I knew my place. I mean, it was your family and one of your childhood friends, and then myself coming in, but I was just so awe of being in a band with because I had sung in a bunch of different other bands that just didn't go anywhere. And
Right.
I want to say I answered, was it Maryland Musician or Rocks Magazine, one of those.
I don't know. God, it would be cool if we could find that. Right.
Yep, but I still have all our press too, all the
Oh
papers and
my
all that stuff.
God.
But I want to say it was Maryland Musician that I answered the ad, for a singer, and I'm like, Maryland City. I was like, oh man, that's like 5 minutes from my house,
I know, right?
and it just clicked. I don't even remember the audition. We probably sang a Poison song. I don't know.
No, I guarantee probably at least one.
And it just worked out. And it was like, man, you're in. And I'm telling you, that was the best 3 years of my life. And I was working full time as a firefighter. There were many times where we would be at a gig, and we would go on around 10. We'd get off around 11:30. We'd get
Right.
everything all
Right.
wrapped up, and we'd leave Baltimore. I'd probably get home about 3 in the morning and get up at 5 and go to work for
Right.
24 hours. And that was my life for 3 years. I think Jay was just graduating high school. You had already graduated with Greg,
Right.
and
Right. Yeah.
it
Jay
was.
was the bass player.
Yep,
My brother and Greg was the drummer.
yep.
What was really neat was that like we all never stepped on each other's toes. Like we were like four leaders that like we just did what we needed to do. We all had the job. Like you sang, I played guitar, Jay played bass, and Greg played the drums. And everybody just did their own thing really well, and everybody just focused on their to be the best that they could be at what they did. I mean, you were definitely the best singer. Greg was definitely the best drummer, and everybody just focused, and thinking about, if I can just do my job the best I can, and everybody else does, everything else is easy. It all just came together. Nobody was lazy. Everybody just worked hard, and then we practiced, and then we practiced individually as well as a team. And then the big show would be like, I guess you would, I know you're a firefighter, but it's like, for us, the show was like the fire, when the bells go off, and the firefighters and the engines, they just start screaming down the street. That was like our show. When we got there, it's like we all had to perform. We all had to do our separate jobs individually and rely on each other, and it all came out great. That's why we were great, because everybody was great individually.
I liked, I always wanted to play guitar, and I even took lessons, and it just, I didn't have that discipline. I didn't have that whatever the word, stick to itiveness or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I did take 2.5 years of professional voice lessons. I always wanted to sing, but I wanted to play guitar, and I was always all inspired watching you and Jay play the guitar. Jay played the bass, but he'd pick up the acoustic and
Yeah.
play that.
Uh-huh.
You would play, and then you showed me a few chords, and I could hold my own on the typical C, G, D, and E. But I was just inspired, and it just when I was really young, like when I was like 7 years old in elementary school, I wanted to play the drums, and my mom got me a drum pad, and I tried, but I couldn't stick with the actual instrument. I stuck with the singing, but I couldn't stick with the instrument. And watching Greg play the drums, it was just like I was jealous of the three of you guys because you could just pick it up and do it. You could pick up
Right.
the guitar and you could play your guitar part and you put it down and then we'd rewind the tape and then you play the acoustic part and then if you wanted to you could pick up the bass and play the bass. Jay could play the guitar, Greg could play the
Yeah, no, he
drums,
could. Right. I
and
know.
me I could
Yeah.
just sing. I tried to carry a tune.
Right, right. Well, your job was to sing and look pretty, so you did a good job at
But
that.
I was just awe inspired and I didn't have the discipline to stick with the instrument. So I want to talk about your early days when what made you decide to pick up the guitar. And I know it goes back to your mom and dad were performers, if you want to start with that, and then how you kind of evolved that I want to do the guitar.
Well, my parents were musicians. They were country bluegrass musicians, and my mom met my father in Japan when he was over there in the military. So, when we were born, they didn't want us to do any music. They didn't want us to do it at all because it's a dead end street. There's no money in it. You can't support a family. There's nothing there. It's a hobby. It's not a career. And so I begged for a guitar. I begged and begged, and one day my grandfather gave me one, and my parents were like, okay. And I played it for about 2 minutes. It was a piece of crap, and it broke. So one day I saved up some money and I went to Sam Goody's in Laurel. I don't know if you remember that place.
Yes, I do.
I bought a black guitar with a white pick guard, and I just started playing. It weighed about as much as about 5 cinder blocks, and I couldn't really pick it up. I had to just kind of hold it in my lap, 'cause I was about 100 pounds soaking wet anyway. So. And I was 11 at the time, and I just learned one chord at a time. And my first song I tried to learn was a New Edition song, which was really weird to have to try to learn on a guitar. So that didn't work. But then I found this band called Kiss, and it was more like guitar rock. And I started learning Rock and Roll All Night, and I started learning all the really cool Kiss songs. All of a sudden, I felt like, wow, this is really cool. I enjoy doing this. Parents rolling their eyes. Dear God, please, we don't want another dead end musician in this house, right? So, I didn't have any friends in school. I went to St. Mary's School in Laurel, and and I was the only Japanese kid that was there. It was weird, and God, I'm 71, so I'm going to say probably 81-ish or so. There weren't any Japanese kids around, even half Japanese kids. We were the only ones in the neighborhood. It was kind of interesting because it was hard. It was hard to make friends, and I got the Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees.
Look at these.
Oh, look at these. Right? Don't get me wrong. I like these. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
when you're a little kid, you don't know what the hell is going on. So I got teased a whole lot.
Right.
And one day I asked one of the kids on the playground if they wanted to come over and hang out. And they just kind of looked at me like I was crazy. I'll never forget the guy's name. The guy's name was Kenny Fennell. I don't know if you know Kenny Fennell or not.
Mm-mm.
He went to Pilate High School. Really cool dude. Ended up being a longtime friend of mine. And he came over one time, and another guy, Craig Leonardo, and a bunch of friends. They came over and they said, and I just picked up my guitar. They're like, "You play guitar?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And I played, and they thought it was so cool. The next day of school, everybody wanted to be my friend, and everybody was so interested in guitar. Because I was the only one, I guess, that played. And then I made friends, and we started a band called Mantle, which was pretty much a bunch of pre-puberty 11-year-olds trying to get a band together, And we practiced together. We had our first band called Mantle, and we had our first show in the 8th grade for the music teacher let us put it on in front of the whole school. And we rocked it out. We're way too loud. And we weren't that great, but it was fun. It was cool, and it was a start of something that would continue for 30 years. And even still continues.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember seeing a lot of the pictures when you were younger, and then the bands that came through. I know the one before me was Pink Panther, and you had Tommy. Tommy was in the band, and then you just everything evolves, and I think that the drive to want to pick up the guitar, you had that focus as I want to do that, and obviously New Kids on the Block, we won't go there, but I know once you got into Kiss, like every kid that was 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, it was all about Kiss. I mean, my first album that I ever bought with my own money was Kiss Destroyer. So
Yeah.
we were definitely
Yeah.
all on the same path. And I
Uh,
know that when I auditioned for you guys, because I kind of knew the music that you guys wanted to do, and I mean that was like exactly what I wanted to do. And a lot of people, they didn't like the glam rock. I mean, I don't look at it as glam rock. I look at it was all metal. It was all heavy metal music. But just that
we played
style,
when we played some Judas Priest. We played some other stuff.
right?
Shoot, I remember when all that stuff was on that they wouldn't even let Metallica on the radio. Now it's like every fifth song. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh no, man, that's a death music, Metallica. Oh no, right? And now, oh my God, it's crazy how the tables turn.
It is, and that's a shame because I didn't get into that music. I love Metallica and I love Pantera, and all the metal bands that are out there that you listen to, but that didn't get that airplay, so you didn't hear it on the mainstream airwaves.
No,
So it's a
right?
shame because now I'm going back and listening to Injustice for All. Well, actually, Injustice for All was the first album I got from Metallica, but then Kill 'Em All, Master of Puppets,
Right.
all those albums were just like whoa, if I'd have listened to this when I was younger, that'd have been pretty cool. You just it wasn't in the mainstream, but I think that knowing watching you play the guitar, the things that you did with the guitar, to me, I was never surrounded by musicians. I didn't have that background. I didn't have that family. So to watch you play the guitar, just watching your fingers do it, and you weren't even paying attention. To me, it was like magic. I was like,
Oh, right.
how do you do that? And to this day, I still can't do that. But so we fast forward a little bit. So you won your friends over with your talents, and I can't sit here and say like, oh, I know how you feel. Didn't have a lot of friends. Being Japanese American, and living in Maryland City. If anybody doesn't know where that is, back in the late '70s, early '80s, a huge blue collar area, like
Yep.
right outside of Laurel, the Anne Arundel County side, and just blue collar workers, working, those jobs, getting their hands dirty and everything, and you know, it had to be a little difficult, but when I met up with you guys had so many friends that was stupid. I mean, sometimes band
Oh my
practice was
God.
ridiculous. They
Yeah, I
were
know.
lining up the steps and everything just to to hang out with us, which was always cool because I think that kind of put it at ease. I sang in front of some audiences, but having your friends there, always there, that just made it a little easier for us. So we move forward a little bit. You get a little bit older. You probably had your eyes like, I really like this guitar. Been in a couple bands. You moved through with Pink Panther. Let's talk a little bit about that because I know you had played at your high school when you were in that band.
Yeah, God, we played in our high school. We used to rent out. We had a little bit, I was a little business guy. I was probably more of a business guy than I was a guitar player. I was thinking about, well, hey, we need stuff. We need guitars. We need gas in our cars. I'm thinking like, we need to play shows if we want more. So we worked through the teen club, and because I was part of Maryland City, they would let us rent out a Brockbridge School or like a hall or something, and we would play as Pink Panther, and we'd make a couple $1,000s. And when you're like 17 years old, $2,000 goes a long way.
Absolutely.
So we print tickets, we walk around Maryland City and knock on doors. I guess that's pretty much the cold calling of the '80s.
Right.
Remember when you could just go up to knock on people's doors without
Worrying about getting shot.
without getting shot, or the crazy doorbells now. I mean, people actually answered their doors and were like, "What do you want?"
Right.
And we go to the elementary school, and I played football up in Maryland City too. So we played football or basketball or baseball. We try to sell tickets there, and we'd get hundreds of people to come out and play. And it was great. We would rent all the lights and everything, and we had a road crew we had more road crew, than ants on a hill, for God's sake.
Right.
it's like when it was time to go for a show, like there weren't enough cars to get everybody in the rides because everybody just, it was such a cool thing. Everybody wanted to be part of it. We had, we had like those big shining lights, what are the little stage lights? We'd have somebody running lights. We had a guitar tech, we had a drum tech, we had a bass tech. I don't know if you had a tech though. I don't know. Do singers need techs?
I did, and I can't remember the guy's name for the life of me. I know it wasn't PJ because I think PJ took care of the bass.
Yeah,
I can't remember, but he
don't.
had my microphone set up. It was all the gains were set perfectly. It was ready to go, fresh batteries, the whole nine
Yeah,
yards.
I remember Cliff. We had Cliff
Oh
too. We had
man,
our own
Cliff!
sound guy.
Cliff was like
Yeah.
the glue. He was always the,
Uh,
yeah, that sounded good and everything, but it kind of sucks. So let's try to do it again.
especially recording, I mean, he would tell you if
He
you
was a
didn't like it.
stickler, and let's talk a little bit about. I want to talk a little bit about the roadies because just reliving the stuff that we did. When I look back at the roadies that we had, like you said, we had a guitar tech, we had a bass tech, we had guys setting up the microphones, we had people setting up the speakers, making sure they were where they were.
Hmm.
We had, Cliff would make sure that the sound was good, even though he wasn't running the soundboard. He'd make sure that it was how it was supposed to be. We had a drum tech setting up the drums, setting up the channels that we had all the Aquanet spray inside of that
We even had a fan. We even had. Remember, Brenda was our. She ran the fan
she
club
did run
too.
the fan club. So I mean, if you look back at it, for a bunch of young 20-year-olds that were just playing the Baltimore 95 corridor circuit, we had more roadies than most professional bands that go out and play and
I
hammerjacks and
know.
whatnot. And the cool
I
thing was
know. Right?
those guys did it for free. And then like once a week, we do like 2 or 3 shows a week. Maybe once a week we take the $50 that we made and give it to them, and they go buy beer, and they were so
That's
happy.
right. We used to pay him in. We used to pay him in a. Remember the Coors Light party balls?
Yep.
And I think in the '90s too is when the 30-pack came out. So
Yep.
we would just pay him in beer. We'd play music and then come back to the house and just it was great. What's really cool about that whole scenario is that you would think like as being like the band guys, like we would get all the groupies, but I don't know if you know this. I've all the roadies, they all married our groupies. We were so busy we were so busy with the music, we weren't even paying too much attention to what I guess as rock stars we should have been paying attention to, right?
Yeah, but and it's funny because I tell people that I said, I had a girlfriend at the time, and she came to every show, so that kind of put the
Yeah,
put the little squash on the with the groupies and all that. But they were there. We had our
that's
fans.
right.
Some of them were good
It's
looking, some of them
crazy.
not so much, but they were all paying customers, and they all got treated the same.
Yep, I remember you remember Terry? Terry was my girlfriend at the time, remember?
Right? Yes.
She
Yes.
was a nurse.
Yep. That's right. She well, and
I always
and
had a girlfriend. Always had a girlfriend too. So it's like God.
and you
Like I
met
went in
her. She was
Rome.
in the military, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's in the military.
Yep.
It's like we were in Rome, but we brought our own lunch. It's like,
Yeah.
what the hell, you guys rock stars for? You guys came to the buffet when you brought your own lunch. You guys are idiots.
So
No.
we so let's talk a little bit about we marketed ourselves, and I don't want to say we were ahead of our time because you can watch the documentaries of those bands that were on the strip and all that, and there were flyers everywhere. I mean, we did flyers, but we did some creative stuff. So talk about how we marketed ourselves and how we got into the clubs. Like you said, we ran it like a business, even though we didn't have money coming in. But how we approached the club owners and how we got in there, and we actually did get to open up for some fairly decent bands that were in the Maryland area.
Sure. I mean, we opened up for in Ocean City. We opened up for Child's Play, didn't we?
It was
At the
actually
Fireman's
it was
Convention?
Brian Jack's band because
Brian Jackson,
yep,
right?
we opened up for that. Oh, that's a whole nother story. We'll talk about that in a minute. The whole Ocean City thing.
I know. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know so much more about Brian Jack now, but yeah. But you remember we used to build the promo kits.
We
We build the
did.
promo kits, and we used to mail them out. We used to do some really fun. I can't remember what we did though, but even the production of the tape. We dotted our I's, crossed our T's. Everything was about. Is it? If you pick this up, are you going to listen? If you pick up this tape, are you going to open it up and listen to the first song? Everything was marketing. Greg was an artist. We were lucky too that he drew all the Spider-Man comics. Is that we had somebody, at the time who we didn't have to pay anybody to do art or come up with a logo like Greg did that. You remember he designed all that stuff.
Oh, he designed our album cover.
Yeah, our album cover and the little characters and stuff. Remember the characters that he drew up of all of us?
Yep, he was pretty
cool.
gifted graphic artist. Like comic book artist. He was really good. Very very talented. Very quiet. For a drummer, he was really quiet. But man, was he talented and was pretty gifted.
But when the club owners would get that stuff, I mean, they got 100 tapes. They got 100 tapes. With Times Roman numeral on them.
Right.
Sitting on the desk. But then there's that one, the golden. I call it the golden apple. There's one on there that you just for some reason you're looking at it and you just want to pick it up. You want to open it and you want to see what in the world is this thing about. And that's how we spent a lot of time trying to market ourselves a little bit to just try to break free from all the other 4-chord ballad 80s music. Bands,
I remember when we did our album, or when I say our album, our cassette tape, we decided that the first 100 were going to be hot pink, and that was
right.
People were going to look at that, and everybody had the clear plastic cassette tape. That was what was kind of in at the time, but ours was hot pink, and
I know,
it definitely, if it was sitting on someone's desk, you could see it.
Right.
So, and we and our album insert, we actually spent some money. We had color pictures on the album insert, and I mean, it was we went all out. We spent some money on that just so we could get that shot, and we moved forward a little bit, and obviously not everybody liked our music, but we didn't care. We liked playing it. We had a good time playing it. We won the club owners over, and we started off like everybody else. We started at the crappy slots, but we ultimately won these guys over, and we were playing weekends and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you remember we didn't go over well. Remember when we had the critiquing of our album and everything? We sent it to
I think it went Maryland Musician, and they did critique our album, and it was pretty brutal.
Oh yeah, they pretty much said we should just shave our heads and join the military. Pretty much is what they told us.
But tell the story.
It sounds like they're building a shed.
Right?
It's not music.
But and I have all that press. I still have all those articles. But I want you to tell the story, if you remember. When we got our album reviewed through Maryland Musician. Paraphrasing, what did they? They didn't like it. The guy definitely didn't like it. I think his name was Tim Grinder or something like that. Didn't like the album, and the things that it was pretty bad, And we were like, it kind of sucked. We know it wasn't for everybody, but we were having people coming in and listening to our shows, so it's like, all right, so we didn't get good review. But
until
we met the guy, remember?
Right, we're playing at Max's on Broadway.
Yep,
and we were doing it.
Was it Max's on Broadway or was it the Rage?
No, it was Max's on Broadway.
Okay, and
I'll never forget it. It's the only time I ever played there, and we did a show, but we did an acoustic show. You remember?
That's right.
An acoustic show. Greg, the drummer. We didn't bring drums. We brought pans and we brought like woks.
Let's rewind because he gave us that bad review, and we played the Rage, and Cliff found him at our show, and when it was over, Cliff said, "Come over, I want you to meet somebody," and he introduced himself, and this guy thought we were going to kick his ass. Remember? Because he gave us such a bad review, and we were like, "Hey, man. Well, really great to meet you. Thanks for coming out." And, you could just see his shoulders relax, remember? and he honestly thought we were going to kick his ass. And we were like, hey, man, we know our music isn't for everybody. We appreciate you actually taking the time to listen to it. You gave your honest opinion. That's cool. And then we asked him, if we were to do another tape, what would you change outside of not liking the music? And he gave us some pointers. And the next time we played was at Max's on Broadway. Remember that was was it Maryland Musician or Rocks Magazine's birthday, and it was an acoustic set at Max's on Broadway, right?
Right. It was Susie Mudd, Rocks Magazine.
And she invited us to play because Tim said we were some cool guys.
Right.
And remember, Jay, he rented an upright bass, right?
Yep, and an upright bass.
And then Greg had what did Greg have? What
Pots and pans and woks and whatever else you could think of, and pillows and a whole bunch of crap.
And then you had your acoustic. And I don't even know if I was mic'd. I might have just been singing, sitting in a chair.
Yeah, I don't remember, right?
And we did our show acoustic. And what did that guy say after that show?
Yeah, and he was incredibly impressed.
He's like, it was something along the lines of, throughout the night there was one shining moment. He said that Down and Dirty came and they played an acoustic set complete with upright bass, something of that nature, and said something like, he said, these guys really held their own with a tough crowd. They played really well. They sounded good. And then he ended up, he says, I still don't like the music, but these are some top-notch guys, and I would say that if you get the chance, go out there and listen to these guys play because they're really a bunch of cool guys. So, to me, I learned that when you build relationships, we could have, and if you remember, Kemo, the music scene in Maryland was cutthroat in the Washington metro area. I mean, nobody got along. None of the bands got along. They undercut each other and they said crappy things about each other. But we always stayed upbeat. We were always positive. We always thanked people, whether they liked us or not. We didn't care. But man, that got us shit. We were playing every week, and we were playing at great time slots on Saturdays and Fridays, Friday nights.
People just wanted to deal with, it was so cutthroat, that you just wanted to play with somebody that just wanted to play, wanted to be honest, somebody that you knew the next day wasn't just going to turn around and just talk crap on you. That hey, you play with Down and Dirty, they're just great guys, and and their music is decent,
Right.
And that's who if you want to be on an island with any other band, who would you want to be with? It was Down and Dirty. That was us. Yeah, we were never the bride. We were always the opener, but hey, we were fun and we're reliable and we were just good kids,
I liked. We built really good relationships, and from then on out, we really got good press, and it got to the point where when we would be playing at a place like the Paragon or at the Rage or even at Steeltown, when they had the calendar up and who was playing, they'd always have our album picture or a picture of us on stage. Yeah. We'd always get that little bit of extra publicity, and I would attribute that to just the relationships that we built up. Because I know a lot of those club owners, they had to have seen, nobody was grateful, everybody was out for themselves, and we were always there just having a good time and being decent to people, and I think it paid dividends for us. I think it went a long way for us.
Yeah, we were like the boy next door of the band world. We weren't that great looking.
Right.
We didn't have a great job.
We were the blind date of bands.
Right. Yeah, if you're the daughter, you'd be like, you know what, this guy's a really good dude. You just gotta you gotta see this band. Yeah, he ain't a millionaire, but he ain't poor, and he's not pretty, but he ain't ugly either. We were like a 5, and it worked to our benefit, and everybody just loved us.
I like the fact, and I always go back to the roadies because, God, I can remember there was Geoff and there was PJ. I remember those are the two main guys, and then but everybody was your friends of y'all's from high school, and they truly wanted to just be with us, and their girlfriends, they came as well. So when the guys were roadieing, the girls were in the front stage, and cheering us on, and the guys, they would load the van up. All we'd have to do is just show up at the show, get changed, go upstairs, and everything was good to go.
They made us look good.
So here's a great story. All right, so we are with a video crew. They wanted to do a video with us for a local cable access show. And the girl was out. She interviewed us in the downstairs. Remember, it was our birthday party too. Remember, it was our birthday celebration.
Yeah, it was like Rock Alive or something.
Something like that.
And I'd love to get that video.
Yeah. So they're recording the show, and remember we had some choreographs and stuff like that, and how we would do kicks and all that stuff. Do you remember when I kicked my legs and I split my pants open from waist, from a
Yeah,
belt
right.
line to belt line, and I wasn't wearing any underwear?
Oh my God.
Do you remember that?
Uh, oh my God. I think everybody remembered that.
And all the roadies' girlfriends were in the front, and they're like, "Your pants ripped." I'm like, "No shit." And I
Yeah, I think
think
I got that.
during your solo, I had to run downstairs to the changing room and grab a pair of shorts and put them over top of my pants and
Oh
finish
my
the show
God.
like that. But
Oh, I don't remember you putting on any shorts.
I did. I put on a pair of shorts to finish the show because I wasn't wearing underwear, and my pants they literally ripped from the front of the belt to the back of the
Oh my
belt.
God. That's
So
crazy.
and
Remember, I had my pants stolen one night. Remember
y-
that at the Rabbit's Foot?
yep. Um, and I remember, uh, yeah, that was our birthday show. So when we played on our birthday, we always drink a little bit on our birthday, but we never really drank when we got on stage. But we actually had a packed house that night because they were video recorded. I think there was probably like for the raids, there was probably almost 150 people in there. Well, that's pretty packed for
I
that
think it was
place.
more than that. It was packed.
It was packed.
God, I wish I could find that video. That'd be great.
I see.
There's
That's where
so
we got.
much I look back I forgot about. I'm like, oh, I need to find that video, and then real life kicks in, and I'm like, what? What did you say?
I,
Take
won-
out the trash?
I wonder
Is
if
it Wednesday
Cliff.
already?
I wonder if Cliff has any of those videos.
I think if he doesn't, Greg does.
Right.
I'm sure.
But
Uh,
so let's talk about you had the opportunity, good or bad fortune. You played with your family. So Jay was in the band, and then you had your younger brothers, and they were just kind of hanging out. They were really young at the time, but I know eventually Dave, your younger brother, he got older, and then he played the drums. So what was it like playing with your family, and how was it? Was there any challenges, or was it more of it's in the family, and we're just doing our thing? I know you and Jay used to get mad at each other, and you would yell at each other on the microphones, and
oh
he
my
would
God,
he
yeah,
would
that's always
provoke you.
yeah. Yeah, it's Jay is the John Lennon to my Paul McCartney.
Right.
It's like it's crazy how two people who don't get along can make really good music together. It's just it's just been always like that. We've always it's just been our relationship. We've just kind of just accepted it. It's so hot and cold all the time, but it's family. And Tony is was the youngest kid in the band, and we couldn't find a drummer, so I taught him how to play drums, and he became a drummer. So the family dynamic is interesting when you're in a band. It's a little complicated, but it's simple too, because you can rely on each other. That's the easy part. The hard part is when you have a misunderstanding that there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of emotions involved. And it's hard. Because those emotions they don't go away because you got to see each other at least for Thanksgiving and Christmas every year. So,
Right.
some people, they're not your family. You could tell them to just go F off and you'll never see them again. So, just it's a great thing. I would do it over. If I had my choice, I'd rather play with my family than anybody else.
I remember, like I said, I remember with Jay, he was very over the top and always wanting to. He was, I don't want to say a ham, but he was really out in front, as a bass player. He's like the Nicky Six, bass player,
Yeah, no,
and he was good, and he prided himself on his playing, and he had a good melodic voice. It didn't always match up with mine. We tried, but the background vocals, he was a good harmonizer, and
yeah.
he had a good voice. It was just a different kind of voice for the music, but I really liked working with him because I could see I know you two wrote a lot of the songs, and how that all came out, and then getting me to your vision of how you wanted those songs sung. I mean, I know that can't possibly be easy. It would be like me trying to tell you how to play the guitar.
I know, right? I don't know how you did it.
And
I wasn't even a singer at the time. I'm like, I don't know. I know how if this was a guitar, I'd know how I would play it, you know. But
Right. My biggest thing was
yeah,
trying to stay on key. And I
yeah,
think that's where Cliff came in too. I mean, Cliff actually had a pretty good ear. We weren't going to sound like Queensryche, so he finally got over that. But I think that playing with you guys, it was pretty interesting dynamic. And like I said, I know when you guys would get mad at each other, he would taunt you. He would say things in the microphone, get you mad, and
I know, I know.
and it just kind of fizzle out. But then your brother was playing drums for you, and the fact that you taught him how to play, he could actually hold his own if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
no, he did great. I mean, he parlayed it into, Jay was definitely the musician in the family. He was always better than me at that. I think was always very good at singing and playing bass. And he could play the guitar. He could mostly do everything. I could play decent guitar, and I ended up singing for the Wasabi Brothers, and it worked out for a little while. But I mean, Jay he even took his band, Saints of Rebellion, to a completely different continent. I forget where he took it. The first time they ever had an American rock and roll band there. He had another thing. He won the Maryland Music Awards. His
Hmm.
band did a band called As If. I mean, he took it to the next. He took it as far as you can take it in Maryland, and he got the trophy. Um, I'm really kind of proud of him for that. He never quit. Me, I just kind of just lost interest after a little while. I got married. I was the first to get married and have kids. And my focus got more on my children, and they didn't have kids. So it's the game is different. As you know, I mean, you have children. It's all
Yep.
great, but the second you need to start worrying about other people, you really got to divide yourself in it. And sometimes it makes you less of a musician because you got to divide your passion. You know, and and
I think you could still, if you wanted to, you could pick up the guitar and just sit and just play something. I
oh,
don't think
I
that ever
still
goes
play.
away.
No, no, that's what's cool about it. It's not like I like sports too. Like I like baseball and football and basketball, but there comes a point where you really can't play. You get old, you can't play anymore, and you can't develop. But as a musician, it's something you could develop at your whole life. You can always be better. Every day you get up, you could be a better musician if that's what you want to do. But if you want to play football and you're 87 years old, well, there's a good chance the coach is not going to put you in. You know what I mean?
But at 87 years old, if
Uh,
you don't have decrepit fingers, you can still play the guitar. You can still strum and
right,
play the
right.
guitar. And I think there's musicians out there that are proving that. The So, what about um, any of your kids pick up any music, any instruments?
My daughter Kasami sings a little bit. She does like karaoke, and she's okay. My son, not really. I bought him a guitar, and he played it for 5 seconds, and then it sat in the corner. Still probably in the same corner that he left it in 17 and a half years ago.
Right. It's funny
My
because
daughter's a little, yeah.
my
My daughter's a
daughter,
little interested.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, the
she sings a little bit, and we play Taylor Swift songs together.
that's cool.
And it's fun. She sings, and it's cool. Yeah, I'm gonna let her take it where she wants to get it. And I bartend at the Rams Head dockside over there in Glen,
Right.
and I get to every now and then I'll get up and play a couple songs with the music acts and things like that. So I still get to do it. It's just that it's just I'm not just not consuming my life. You get to a point where you can just kind of do it as a hobby.
And it's a gift that doesn't go away. It's funny because my daughter, we try to get her piano lessons. I wanted her to learn how to play the piano, and she has a really good ear. We noticed that when she brings home when she brought home the recorder the first time from school, and I think every parent understands where that is. Bringing home the recorder and learning how to play something. But she taught herself to play "Ode to Joy" on the recorder just by hearing it on
Oh
the
my God!
radio.
Wow,
So
that's
I'm like, well,
good.
maybe we need to nurture this a little bit. So we got her some piano lessons, and she did that for a little bit, and then the piano teacher had to kind of bow out. So she got into the chorus in sixth grade. She was doing chorus, and her first show in elementary school in the 6th grade. She got a huge stage fright, even though there was 40 other kids on the stage, and she was like, you could see her turning white, and she just jumped down and ran and put her head in our laps, and I'm like, really,
Oh,
really, So
I know, right?
8th grade or 7th grade, she stayed in chorus. So 7th, 8th, and then in high school, 9th, 10th. She's in 11th grade now. She's been in chorus. Now she took drama, and she's actually in one of the in the play that's coming up at school. So she really enjoys the drama, and she enjoys the chorus. She's had a couple of solos.
Oh, cool.
So I'm proud of her, But my son, he has no interest. He got no interest. He wants to play, VR or on his iPad or whatever. But that's okay. I never pushed it.
Yeah.
If they wanted to do it, I would be there to let them do it. But it's interesting. But they always like, we like to hear Dad sing, And I'll sing in the car. Still sing, always sing, never not. And even at work, most of the guys know when I'm at work. When I worked in the office in Montgomery County, they come in the morning and they'd hear Spotify playing my playlist of all metal songs, so they knew I was working. So I never got away from the music. I always liked it. I wish I could play guitar so I could just do whatever, but you got that, and that's I think that's pretty cool. And so you did some comedy stuff. And I saw that Kemo the Samurai. And
Yeah.
so how did that go? And did you have your debut? And how did that go?
It went okay. I did. I took some comedy classes. Magooby's Joke House. There's a guy named Mark Unger. He does it's more of a one-man show type of thing. If you're ever interested in doing like some breaking into comedy or getting on stages, the first class I took, I guess it was probably about maybe 3 months. I got up and talked for about 14 minutes. And the next class I took, I had to get up and talk for 30 to 40 minutes, which was really interesting. And I told the story about growing up and, in my own city and being young. And it was good. And, it was fun. And then I was like, you know what? I need to do something about, when you go break into comedy, you got to do your thing. What was my thing? Well, my thing has always been music. It's always been my avenue. So I said, what would be cool is always been a Weird Al Yankovic fan,
Right.
I said, I'm going to write my own parody album. And I did some research, and I said, what's really cool is that nobody in the entire Baltimore area has ever released a full-length parody album, just like Weird Al Yankovic. So I said, well, let me see. So I said, wouldn't that be cool to do? So, it took me 3 years to record 12 songs. I got the computer, I got the software, and I said, I'm going to record every instrument. So 12 songs, I recorded every drum beat, the bass song, the bass, the keyboards, anything, the backups, everything I did. 3 years, and then another year to mix and master it. There's a place called Mobtown Studios in Baltimore. Guy's awesome. And I mixed and mastered it, and sure enough, which is 2022. In 2021, January, I released it. It's on Spotify, it's on iTunes, it's on all that stuff that's going on,
Mm-hmm.
And I put it on YouTube, and I got my own website, stuff like that. So, it's doing okay. I didn't force it. I just kind of did it, put it out there. Every now and then, people, they chime in and say, oh, my God, I love this song, I love that song, and it's good. Never really took off as much as I wanted it to, but I never really promoted it as much as like we did when we were kids,
Right.
I got to a point where I was just like, oh my God, I'm just kind of done with this thing. And I've played a couple of the songs. When I work, I'll just get up there and do, Every Rose Has Its Thorn. I do a version of that called Where the Hell Is My Phone? It's about Bret Michaels losing his phone. And, it's fun. I got tired of music. I needed to reinvent it somehow, and it was cool. I did the same thing. I did the album and everything from start to finish. Everything I had learned before, I just pretty much just repeated. And boom, 4 years later, I had an album, just like we did 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
A lot of challenges. I'd learned how to record. I'd learned how to microphone. I'd learned how to mix. I learned how to do I learned how to build my own website, I learned how to register stuff on iTunes and Spotify and licensing and all the business stuff that came with the music. And I just kind of put a big wall, a big stop in everything that I did. Is that comedy was great and it was fun, but I slowly realized that really the art itself was only about 10% of the whole package. The other part is the 90%, which is the business that we used to always do. And it kind of made me fall out of love with the music and the comedy a little bit, knowing that you got to walk. Let's say it's 100 miles, you got to walk 90 miles just to do the comedy for the last 10. I'm just like, I don't know if it's really worth it. I'm getting old. I'm 50 now. I don't really want to move equipment. I don't really want to I don't want to perform shows as much as I really want to. Really, I just want to go home, open a bag of Fritos, and watch Netflix.
Right. I know. Yeah, I knew you did the parody album. That's pretty cool that it's out there. And
Yeah.
so what's the name of the album? And is it under? And what's it under? Is it under Kemo? What's it under?
It's under Kemo the Samurai, KEMOTHESAMURAI, or you can go to KemoTheSamurai.com. Or you can like me on Facebook, or it's really everywhere.
So, to the half dozen listeners that I have out there listening to this podcast, you should go out there and look it up and support a fellow musician. But it had to be kind of cool when it was all said and done and you were finished with it. It was all polished up and you push play and can hear it from start to end. I know when we did our album, after it was all done and you could actually just push play and just listen to it from start to finish, it was like, wow, man, we did that. That's pretty cool, And whether people liked it or not, at the end of the day, you and myself and Jay and Greg can say we made an album. We did something that probably 10% of the population hasn't done. And
right.
we can walk away and saying like, hey, maybe it wasn't the best album in the world. We knew we weren't going to be millionaires, but we wouldn't give those time up for the time of our lives doing that. So you got to do it a couple of times. You got to put something together that was all on your own and bring it from start to finish. So it had to be a good satisfaction of finishing a project that you started, a piece of art, whether you want to look at it or not, and then just say, I did that, that's mine. Whether anybody likes it or not, don't care.
It really was. And you get to the point where you're about 51% of the way there. And then you look backwards and you say, you know what? It's a lot easier just to walk 49 steps back than to walk the additional 51 steps forward to finish the project,
Mm-hmm.
And you sit back there, you spend money, you lose time from your family, you sacrifice things in your life to come up with a product like that. You just didn't do it on your free time. There was some sacrifice in some way, money, time with your kids, and then to move forward with it and finish it, and then to have it, and then it comes in the mail the one day. There's nothing better than that, Especially with this album for me, because I did it completely myself from start to finish, and I always wanted to do that. I always just wanted to do something that I just finished. That was me, like everything there is everything that I did. From I did parodies of the album cover. There's a song on there. It's called "Breaking the Law." Well, it's a parody of "Breaking the Law," but it's called "Itching My Balls." And I had to do an album cover, right? So basically, I took some Rob Halford stuff. I did some photoshopping of me. I put my face on Rob Halford's face, and I'm like in the balls at like Chuck E. Cheese, and that's the cover, "Itching My Balls." And like I did a separate album cover for every different song. Even I did a Justin Bieber song, for God's sake.
Right.
I mixed it up. I did different stuff, whatever I felt that day. And it took months to rewrite them, and I am really proud of it. Like you said, maybe from the 5 fans that listened to it, thank you. But hey, a lot of them come to see me. I bartend at the Ram Set. A lot of my fans, they'll come in and they'll be like, "Oh, you bartended tonight," and then they'll just come in and we'll just talk about the album and stuff. It's kind of cool.
and it's
Kind of cool for an old guy, you know.
yeah. But the cool thing is that we have the stories that we did that stuff, and
Yeah.
I think that learning how to be on stage and feeding off, the other three, you and Jay and Greg, feeding off their energy, being on stage, and as it transitions into, now I teach on a national level with with firefighting stuff. The training company that I work with, on the side, we go all over the country, and it's like nothing to go out in front of a room if there's a couple of hundred people, if there's 10 people. I think that I just feel comfortable. I don't get stage fright because, I mean, let's face it. I was in tight leather pants, a baggy shirt with it was half open, and my hair halfway down my ass.
Right.
Singing, 80s metal tunes. So, being in a suit and talking about firefighting stuff, that's easy. That's easy
Yeah, it is
stuff.
easy. It's really easy, right? And you don't have to talk in keys. You can talk in whatever key you want.
That's right.
Uh,
I remember. I think the biggest show that we ever played was when we opened up for uh, in Ocean City, Maryland, and we opened up for a bikini contest during the
oh
firemen's
my God.
convention. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
I
Right.
told the guy that owned the nightclub, and I can't remember the nightclub. They called it the Hammerjacks of the Beach, but I don't remember the name of the nightclub.
Oh my God, I can't think of it either. It'll
I,
come to
I
me
want to
though.
say there was probably about 500 people in the audience, and we started. We opened up for a bikini contest. So I remember had everything set up, starting on the first song, and I think we did a kick, and I came down and I slipped and I sprained my ankle. Do you remember that?
I don't remember
Oh
that.
my god, I
No.
sprained my ankle, heard it pop and everything. So I wasn't as lively on stage. But I remember I told the guy, I said, look, man, I guarantee you we can bring a couple of hundred people into this place. And we went out and told all the firemen that were out there, hey man, my band's playing,
Yeah.
and we had about 500 people there. Of course, most of them there to see the women in bikinis, but
Right. Of course, but
that was
we'll
a
take it what
great
you can get,
show.
right?
That was a great show, and
Yeah, God, I didn't know you hurt yourself. It's been
yeah.
so long.
And I remember because I fell down and I rolled. I did like a little somersault and I got up, and I remember I told you, I said I sprained the shit out of my ankle.
Oh, damn, right. Did you probably, when the barometric pressure drops, you probably feel it, huh?
But
Yeah.
yeah, man, I wouldn't trade those times in for anything. I think for being a bunch of late teens and early 20-year olds, and just say, hey, you know what, we want to do this, and had no idea how to do it, but we just did it. And I think in the 3 years that we were together doing the thing, like I said, it was the best time of my life. Wouldn't trade it for the world. And I think it makes us who we are today. We're not afraid to get out in front of people. We're not afraid to talk to people, and
No.
it's like when people talk about, oh, I'm afraid to go talk to this person. I said, are you kidding me? I said, we used to get up in front and sing lousy music in front of 100 people, and we loved it,
Right.
So,
I know, right?
but I think those are lessons that we take with us as we move forward in life, and it's nice to hear that you still pick up the guitar. I'd be shocked if you didn't, but
Yeah,
just
I still do. I'd love to do it again sometime. I just traded in my big amp, my big Marshall stack.
yeah.
I just took it up to Guitar Center 2 weeks ago because I can't move it anymore.
Uh,
They have all this new electronic stuff anyway that
yeah,
really
you can
about the
get you
size
can
of a
get the same big
keyboard.
sound out of something a lot smaller.
Right, right. So I'd rather do that moving forward if I choose to do that. But yeah, I'd rather just take a mic. I'd rather go up and do stand up or do parody, borrow someone's guitar, and do a couple parody songs, than have to move all that stuff around anymore.
I told my wife,
Yeah.
I said I wouldn't mind going out on the boardwalk in Delaware and in Ocean City or whatever, and just pick up a couple of chairs and just me and the guitar player, and just strum some acoustic stuff and just sing some acoustic 80s rock. Um,
But, I really have to do that. As much as I've done with music, it's been part of my life. Like I really have, because my 7-year-old daughter Madeline, I want her to understand that, that I was a musician. So I don't want to completely like jump out of the game, because I really want her. I would really love to see her play. My other two kids saw me play, you know, but I would really, really like to play one more show that I could just have my daughter come see me play once, just so she could just see it.
That'd be pretty cool.
But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Probably not. Probably just like you said, I'd probably be on a chair with somebody else playing a couple songs on the boardwalk. But
hey,
still, I'd like to do it.
Yep. At the end of the day, it is what it is. You still can strum the guitar, and I still got it. And people walk around like, who are these guys? Who cares who they are? 'Cause they sound pretty good. They're playing stuff that when I was a teenager, when I was 20 years old, that's the stuff we listened to. And
Right.
I'll admit it, I got Hair Nation is always on my XM radio. That's the number one station.
No, that's exactly what I do. I'm like, I'm like a Spotify play hair bands. Like really.
Absolutely. Yeah. So. Well, we're at the 1 hour mark, Kemo, and I like to keep the show at an hour because that way when people are driving into work, they say that it's the perfect amount of time. But it was awesome talking to you. I know we've talked on and off through the years. We always give each other a birthday, wish a birthday and all that stuff. But right. It's really good catching up with you. And now that I got it on tape or I got it on the podcast, it'll always be there to relive, the days that we just, we had nothing to care about, nothing to think about. The only thing we had to do was put gas in the car and go play a show and go home and sleep till 3:00 in the afternoon. And
well, let's make a promise. Let's do this again in 30 years, okay?
If I'm still around.
Right. No, that's what I'm thinking too, right? Kind of thinking 30. If we do this every 30 years, I'll be, yeah.
Yeah. But it was really good having you on the show, and obviously I won't be as much of a stranger because I still like reliving those days. It was such a good time.
Definitely.
But so thanks for being on the show, and
awesome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take care of yourself and keep posting stuff on Facebook. I see you and your wife are still celebrating their 9,000th month anniversary or whatever you guys are up to.
Know, right.
But
right. Yeah, I try to check in at least once a month.
That's cool. So, all right, man. Well, take it easy, and I won't be a stranger if you won't be a stranger.
Sounds like a plan, man.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Take it easy.
Bye.